Module 4, Lesson 8. We're talking about multiplication of fractions still. So Jan has 4 pans, we're going to circle and underline, of crispy rice treats. She sends half of these pans to school. How many pans does she send to school? So she has 4 pans. Which is just like we were doing before. And she sends half of the pan. So half of, that multiplication symbol means of, half of 4 to school. How many does she send to school? So when we did this before, just like when we did a tape diagram, as a review, this whole thing was 4, and we split it into 2 pieces. So we want 2 pieces or 2 groups, and there's 2 in each group. So half of 4, we can also put a 1 underneath. 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 1 is 2, and that gets 2. So Jan sends 2 of her pans, to school. So that's how we do that. We just use a tape diagram, we use multiplying straight across, and we also use chips. So here we have another example. Jan has 2 crispy rice treats. She sends half the pans to school. So half of, that's what multiplication means, 2, where we have our 2 crispy rice treats. And they want to know how many does she send to school. So yes, it only asks for a multiplication sentence, but we could double check our work with a picture. So we put it over a 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. And then 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So she sends 1 of her pans to school. And here's our picture. We have our 2. And we're going to split it into 2 groups. There's 1 in each. So we know that picture matches as well. We could do a tape diagram. Here's our 2, split into 2 groups, which was 1 of each as well. So each time that I have multiplied a whole number times the fraction, so we have our whole numbers multiplying by the fraction, my final answer is larger than the fraction that we're multiplying by. So whole numbers times a fraction give me a larger number. So now we have 1 pan. So here's my 1 pan. And she sends half of the pan to school. How many pans does she send? We want a multiplication sentence again. So we have 1 pan, half of, notice that goes in front because this is the word of, half of 1. So this is worth 1, we cut it in half. So that's a half and a half. And then over here, put this over 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So she sends 1/2 of her pans. Jan sends 1/2 of her pans to school. Next, we now have fractions times a fraction. So before, when we did a fraction times a whole number, our answer was larger than the fraction. When we do a fraction multiplied by a fraction, my answer becomes smaller. So this says Jan has 1/2 of a pan. So she has 1/2 of a pan. I'm going to draw a picture of that 1/2 of her pan, and I'm going to shade in 1/2. Then it says she sends 1/2 of the pan to school with her children. So I want 1/2, you notice I write that in front, of her 1/2. So I want to find 1/2 of my half. I have to slice it in half the other way and shade in 1/2 of the half. And of my whole entire pan, what is that shaded section that's dark? It's 1/4. And then I can check. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. And they match. And Jan sent 1/4 of her treats to school. Notice I keep using of her treats, of the pan. Jan has 1/3 of the pan of crispy rice treats again. So this time we're going to walk ourselves through it. We have 1/3. The first thing we do is vertical lines. So we have 1/3. We're going to split it into thirds and color in 1/3. She sends 1/2 of the pan. So 1/2 goes in front. This was my vertical lines. And this is horizontal. So we have 1/2 of the 1/3. So now we're going to split this in half. And we're going to shade that in darker. 1/2 of my 1/3, and that shows this section right here is 1/6 of the pan. So if I multiply it, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6, they match. So I could then write Jan sends 1/6 of the pan to school, of the whole pan. Yes, she only cooked 1/3, but we're talking about of the pan. Another one, Jan has 1/3 of the pan, so we have 1/3 again. Here's our 1/3, which is vertical. It's the original amount. We're going to shade in our 1/3. She sends 1/4 of the pan to school. How many pans of Rice Krispie treats? So she sends 1/4 of the pan. 1/4 is first because 1/4 of, this means of. This is going to be my horizontal. And it's the piece of original. So we're going to split this into fourths now, going horizontal. And we want to shade in one of those fourths. And that gets me 1/12. And if I multiply straight across, 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 3 is 12. Jan will send 1/12 of her pans to school. Now this one's a little different because we're getting away from the crispy rice treats. So we have a sales lot. It's filled with vehicles for sale. 1/3 of the vehicles are pickup trucks. So we're going to draw that, and I'm going to just put that right there. These are trucks. I'm going to fill that all right in so we know it's trucks. We don't know what these are or what these are. They can be anything. They can be vans, they can be cars. Then it says 1/3 of the trucks part are white. So this little section, I'm going to write right over it, is white. So we know we have white trucks in that section. And then it says what fraction are white pickup trucks. We have to read that careful. So white pickup trucks is this area. It's 1/9. So we want to find 1/3 of those 1/3, and it's 1/9. And we have 1/9 of the vehicles are white trucks, and that is lesson 8.